Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Global Hack Week. I hope you've been having a great day at Global Hack Week. This is part 2 of creating a postcard generator with the Google Maps API. If you weren't able to catch part 1 earlier today, there'll be a recording of it on both our Twitch and YouTube channels, as is the case with all of our content throughout Global Hack Week. But how's everyone doing? How's your day at Global Hack Week been going? I really enjoyed the first part of this stream and getting to hear about how everyone had been doing and kind of going through the debugging process with y'all. And also this project is very interesting to me. So far, so good. Glad to hear it. I'm curious also, because this is like a postcard and map stream, I'm curious where everyone is tuning in from. I'm glad that you enjoyed part 1 of the session and you've been having a great Global Hack Week. Hello, it's so good to see everyone. I'm glad that y'all are here. All right, we have someone tuning in from Michigan, from the UAE. Nice. All right, I am going to introduce myself and we can get started with part 2. It'll be a lot less explanation for part 2. We're going to be spending a lot more time coding and debugging, bringing the entire project together. So hopefully we have a very nicely completed project by the end of the session. But if we have not met before, my name is Gabriella. I'm a coach here at Major League Hacking, also known as MLH. Additionally, I am a software engineer. And some fun facts about me is that I am addicted to rug tufting. I love rug tufting. I'm almost finished the runner rug I've been working on for almost 4 months now. So that's super exciting. And like I talked about in our last session, if you're new, these are new facts to you. If you were here for part 1, sorry for the repeat. But I love collecting postcards. But my the thing that I really love as souvenirs to bring back from places I've traveled to are maps. I have a whole slowly expanding collection framed on a wall in my apartment. Also, I sent the link in the chat before I joined the stream, but be sure to register your attendance for the session with MLH. There's a link in the chat, but also up on the screen, if you go to bit.ly/GHW-maps2, you can register your attendance for this session of this stream series. Additionally, if you weren't able to make the last session or weren't able to grab the slides short link from last time, you can head to bit.ly/postcard-slides to see all this information. At the end, I'm going to go through some additional resources that I have linked in these slides that you're able to see. All right, we have another hello. I don't know which flag this is, but I'm glad that you're here, learning something new today. All right, so kind of like as a recap, we went over Qatar. Okay, that was the Qatar flag, learning something new. We went over what APIs were last time, and we went through some basic web app set up basic web app. Now we're going to be able to handle some user input and creating our postcards and our gallery. So let's get into it. We went over this last time. If you were not able to follow along with the code last time, or you're just joining the session now, you can head to bit.ly/postcard-repo, and that will have all the code we worked on the previous session, and you'll be able to catch up. I pushed the code after session 1. You'll be able to catch up to where we left off last session, and that repository, the short link. And then also, if you weren't able to join us for part 1, there is a short link, the second one, bit.ly/postcard-keys. That's where you can create your own Google Maps API key. I talked about this in the last session, but if you are new or just need a little bit of a refresher, the Google Maps API and Google Cloud API, like more broadly, they offer a lot of freebies for students, especially for students and hackers that are associated with Major League Hacking or MLH through hackathons, but also through the GitHub Student Developer Pack. So if you haven't gotten that already, I highly recommend getting the Student Developer Pack. You get a lot of freebies with Google Cloud, but also through like a lot of other technology companies. They'll give you some pretty cool freebies. But if you haven't set up your Google API key, I'd recommend you do that now. I'll give you a few minutes while I'm talking to get that set up. But for the purpose of today, if you don't want to get that set up, you can follow along. It will ask for payment information, but for the level of querying that we're doing in the Google Maps API, you should not be billed. They give you, it's like a almost absurd amount of free calls per month. I think it's 30,000 or something. And then the Places API is significantly less, but still at least 1,000, which is much more than what we'll be using for this app. If you don't want to do that, that's also okay. You can just follow along and see everything in the chat or in the stream today. All right, I'm gonna hope that everyone was able to get their Google API key set up. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I can help you through the registration process to the best of my ability. If you're running into issues, if you have questions, drop those down and we can troubleshoot those. But otherwise, I'm gonna drop the repo link in the chat just so you're able to catch up if you got a little bit behind in the last session or if you're just now joining us for part 2. All right, so time to switch the screens. So this is where we left off in the last session. So if you're unfamiliar with the screen I have pulled up right now, it looks like a basic VS Code screen, but I'm running it in code spaces just because it's easier to run in the browser. And there's 4 files in this repository. There is a README file, a JavaScript file, a HTML file, and a CSS file. The README file has some resources down here. If you're new to APIs in general or Google Map APIs specifically, there's a lot of links that I've found to be particularly helpful. And for our actual project, the last 2 will be particularly helpful, the slides, and then 2 articles on APIs, and then what we are planning on doing. So first session, we knocked these out of the park and then started coding. We finished this and we're about halfway through getting our images into a gallery, as well as taking in user input. This is all the fun stuff for the actual postcard, but once this is the bulk of what will take the most time, this is just some additional styling, and we're almost done with these 2. As like kind of like a walkthrough of like the actual code that we created last time, we will I'll just like walk through these, and if you have any questions about the code we have so far, feel free to drop those in the chat and I will answer any questions. So just kind of like basic HTML boilerplate for doc type HTML, opening the head, linking our CSS file, some Google fonts, as well as creating the different containers for our web page. So on our web page, as you can see here, it looks like I need to rerun the file. Okay, so we're going to close out of this one, and then I need to rerun it. I think it's, what was it, npx serve, yeah. So this just runs our application. Open in browser. Okay, awesome. So as we can see here, we have our error message that we're receiving because I have not put the API key in here. I think that coincides with a question just received. If we can't get an API because of the payment screen, will example APIs keys from the stream be posted. When I'm committing the code to GitHub, I'm not going to put an example API key in there, just because even though they do give you quite a bit, like a generous amount of calls, I don't want to have that up and go over the threshold because it'll be a public repository. So everything will be in the code, but the actual keys. But you can follow along and see how it's supposed to work. But I'd recommend getting the student developer pack if you'd like some freebies. Otherwise, just make sure you look at the thresholds for different API keys, because they do give a significant amount that are pretty it's a pretty solid amount before you start getting charged. Okay, so we have the different containers for the screen. So there's two basic containers. We have the left side, which is just going to be our embedded map from the Google Maps API. And on the right, we're going to have our search, which I need to change this text up here to say city name. And we need to work on some formatting here. Then it also has the title of the city. Our example from last session was Surat, India, but we're going to allow you to input your own city so you can change all of this dynamically. Okay. And I'm curious to see. Okay. Okay. So we're getting an error message because I have not put in the correct API key. I'm going to put in the correct API key so this works correctly. Right, and just as a reminder, in this, I'll kind of talk through all of this while I'm adding in the correct API key. So we have one large div that's holding everything, both the left and the right divs for the left side with the map and the right side with the search content and the pictures eventually. And here we have an embed iframe, and this is taken from the Google Maps API. They make the width and the height. I'm going to adjust that in just a second to be a percentage instead of pixels, so it fits our screen a little bit better. And then as you can see here, we have the source from the Google Maps API. And then where it says key equals to key, that's an invalid key, which is why we need to adjust that. So I'm going to put in my key, and then down here, we're querying it for Surat, India. Here, for the right side of our screen, we have another div that houses our search box. I'm going to tab all of that in so it's a little bit easier to read. And then this, instead of having it say first name, we're going to have to say city name, because it's city name, not a person's first name. Refresh the page. That's been updated. And then this says, this is the title in our content or in our heading item. We also have another div ID here that has, it's set to be hidden. We did this in the last one, the last stream. This is going to be essentially it's going to have error handling messages for when the Google Map embed itself isn't working. So it'll just have some basic messages, but it's set default is to hidden, so that we're not able to see it when everything's working correctly. And then here we have our embed that will have our picture gallery. This has a lot of more complex logic that's taken from Google Maps API to take pictures from different cities. But I need to go in and change the key to be equal to the actual key. We don't have a logic yet to have actual pictures here. But as we can see, I've updated the key and now the map is working correctly. I'm also going to adjust the width to just be 50% versus the pixels. Maybe I think it's doing 50% of the left side, so maybe we can do 100. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Okay, cool. And then we'll do, instead of having it be 450 pixels, I'll do 50%, so it has half of the page. I like the design of this a lot better than it was originally. That was a pretty simple fix. Yeah. Okay, and now on to what we have in the JavaScript file so far. We have some basic statements that are declaring different pieces of the map, like just so we have some basic variables to hold things later in our functions. We're basically just getting different elements on the HTML page with their ID, like the error container where we're going to put any error message if your ID is not correct, or if you've made other mistakes, we're able to actually get that. And then this is the picture gallery, which we're going to be updating with some function in just a second. Here is the first function that we created during the earlier stream. So this is the display error message that goes through and looks at the most common errors and updates them into our error container. And lastly, we have our CSS file, which has some basic styling for our page. So we have the HTML body, which is just basic styling, search box, submit box, and the different containers with left and right side to make sure that the flex box is properly situated for that. All right, so now that we have all that, the next thing that I'm going to do, do we have questions? Is the terminal only accessible in VS Code, or can we also access it in GitHub code spaces? You can access the terminal in GitHub code spaces. What I have shared up on the screen is GitHub code spaces. It is not identical to VS Code, but it operates very similar, and it has the exact same layout. I think there's just it's not capable of as much, but the core functionalities are pretty much the same. All right. Okay, so let's go to our index file, and we're going to add some additional pieces for the picture gallery. Okay. So we're going to create another function to display our pictures. And the only information we need to take in for this function is the actual place that we need to query for. So in this case, it's going to be Surat, but we are going to have this be more dynamic, so we're able to actually search. So we're going to go into our, let's see, it's called picture gallery. And also I'm realizing that for this, yes. Okay, so I made a mistake. I have the API call to the script inside of the actual div, and that should not be the case. I'm going to close the div for the picture gallery. And then now we can go back to the display pictures function to actually get this running. So we're going to go to our specific container for the pictures, and we're going to set that equal to be empty. Okay. And then after that, what we're going to do is go to our the place that we were finding, and we're going to see if any of the queries we have created in this call to our API are being returned. And if there aren't any being returned, then we're just going to return a message of no photos found for this location. Because Google Maps has so many pictures across the web, it's very unlikely that this would happen for any particular place if it existed and our API keys were being called correctly. But we just want to have that just in case. So we will have this. All right. So if our place, the photos attribute, it does not exist, or if the length is equal to 0, we'll just add no photos found for this location. And I want to make sure that I am okay. Yeah, okay. And then after that, what we're going to go through is we're going to create an element for each of the images that we find up to a certain amount, because we don't want to display every single image that we find. We want to just display a set amount, so that the page doesn't get too overwhelming. Oh, I did this in the wrong order. So here what we're doing is we're just going to add different attributes of the image into like for each item that we're finding with the places API for like each picture we're finding. We're adding the attributes so we can add them into our actual page. Now I'm just going to bring over a little bit of code just to pick up the pace from my prep so we can get testing this. Okay, so I think that is everything for the display pictures function. So as like kind of a recap, we have, we're making sure that our, at the place we've chosen with the places API, there are photos that exist and the length is equal to 0. It's not just like the place exists and there's no pictures. And then for all of the pictures, we're going to append the like children to our photos container. Our photos container is just going to be this in here, this picture gallery. Within that, we're updating the source to get the information from the API, and we're creating some alt text, but it's pretty simple. It's just going to be like photo of like the display name, and then we're going to like add that in to our container. All right. So now we need to kind of bring everything together with our initialize map / page function, because we have these error handling, this error handling function and this way to display pictures, but we aren't actually initializing everything. And there's a lot of other information that we need to have in order to get this going. We're also going to set this up as an async function. So here we're going to try a few things with constants from the Google Maps API before we actually get our map ID. Okay, So okay. Oh, this doesn't need to be an async function. My apologies, this does. So close this. So here, we're just going to try basically to import the maps and then bring back the places with different information from the API, and then bring back a few different libraries. And like if we're not able to do that, then it'll give us a failure message. But after that, we're going to create our map. And this, what this is gonna basically do is update the map with our search button, what I'm about to paste in, that will like allow us to update it when we put in new cities. So this just has a new map that we're going to replace with the old one. All right, I'm going to bring over a few different items just because I want to be able to debug this with y'all, and then we can actually start seeing some stuff and get the postcard showing up. But I will explain all of this. Okay, so this is a lot of information. So I'm going to go through it slowly. So we have at first this try part. This is from my prep. Just want to start getting some stuff up just because it's like a little tedious, and I want to make sure that we're able to get our postcard working by the end. But we have some constant variables that we're importing from the Google Maps API library, a new map that we're going to be creating when we search for new places. We're getting new information, and this is all some constant information we're getting from the page when we want to get content from like basically like for like our pictures. I just want to make sure that we're getting all the same titles from that's creating an element. Okay. So that should be fine for now. This is ensuring that the control position for the map is all being done correctly. This does not have the right ID. I did that definitely in my prep. Okay, so this is, oh no, that's the same. So this is just for the entirety of it. And once we have clicked on our button, it's going to hide things as well as show additional, show like the new map, like once we've searched basically. We have a function, or we're able to get our autocomplete via an async event listener. And this is going to take in the place of our event via the places API. And it's also going to add in additional map pin locations for the actual city that we're searching for. All right. And then, okay, it looks like this is something that I just want to call the function that I created. We're just going to have display pictures with our place. Here, instead of everything being written out, it'll be a little bit easier to follow. I do want to make sure that the actual place is being, yeah, okay. So that should be good to go to actually display our pictures. There needs to be, okay, there's an extra squiggly bracket. Okay. This is if we're not able to fetch any of the details for the actual location. We're getting an error message to handle that. And this is the place we are searching for as our default. I'm going to change the default location to Paris on the main screen as well, just so it matches our JavaScript code. Okay, cool. And then we actually need to call this initializing function at the end. Okay. Okay. Let's see how this is looking on this end. Okay, so we're getting Paris as our location. And then this, and we're seeing it very briefly before it disappears. So we need to debug that really quickly. Let's see what's going on in DOM. Get viewport. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. So this is displayed to be loading before we actually get our content. And then it's not fully loading. Okay. We're going to debug this in just a second. I have to grab some water really quick. I ran out. So I will give y'all a few minute break. You are free to go grab some water or use the restroom. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. And feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Yeah, I'll be right back. All right, I am back. I hope that you were able to grab a glass of water, use the restroom, had a good break. Again, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I know I'm in the midst of debugging, so it is probably a little confusing right now, but we're hopefully going to get some clarity on how this is running. just as a I guess heads up, I am doing a little bit of debugging locally as well, trying to figure out where I like what's different basically from what I did for prep. So I will update you as I figure out what's going on and what we need to do to fix it. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna kill this port as I test a different one. Okay, it looks like this version is working. It's the search functionality. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Let's see. There are a few, to put it lightly, errors in the browser, but we'll be figuring this out. Okay, so So we're going to bring back the old port. The difference, for those of you that were curious, between the port that we had and what I had done with prep is that the embed was being done dynamically in the innet map function. We didn't have a separate one for the map, but I think that the way we have it is probably going to be better for our program. So I'm going to just make some quick changes and I think just simplify this for the time being. So I'm going to temporarily comment all of this out. And we're going to get back to very basic. So here we have the Paris map, the city name, and the search. The first thing I want to do is just be able to get the actual city name from the search event listener. And then I think we should be able to more easily get the pictures working once we're able to dynamically get the pictures and update that in the embed a little bit easier. And for that, I'm just going to add an event listener to the click of our button so that when that happens, we update the Google, or not the Google API call. So it has our city rather than the default. So we'll do that. Why is it doing this? My computer is frozen. Okay. So this is named submit button, and we're going to add an event listener for it in our JavaScript file. So document get element by ID. It's going to be this ID. And then we're going to add an event listener for click. And when that happens, we just want to update both the title that's going to be here. So we want this to be, what on earth? This, and this is the right one. Yeah, okay. So we want, when our event listener is clicked, we want both this to update as well as the map itself. So the first one is going to be pretty easy. We're going to do update city. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to, let's see. This is definitely, yeah, heading. So we'll bring back heading as a constant. Heading dot inner text will be equal to what is the value of this? city name. Yeah, okay. Const users city. Okay, so this is the first thing we're going to test. Okay, it's running but not updating. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, I miscapitalized something. So it's the small stuff. Okay. Let's see how this goes this time. New York. New York. No internet. Oh, I see. Oh, and this is also not capitalized correctly. That'll make a difference. But we gotta rerun this. Okay. I have no idea why. Oh, okay. I don't know. Huh. I wonder if we just do. Open basic as preview. Here. Okay. Let's see if this works. don't know what's going on with this. Close the port. Is my screen frozen again? That's probably what's happening. My apologies for the bugs, y'all, but this is how coding goes. Okay. It looks like we have this. Let's see if this works this time. No, I don't want Copilot open here. Okay, I'll just return to trying to do it with the regular preview. If that doesn't work the way we were doing it earlier, I'm just going to pull up what the code would be by running it locally on my machine. Okay, so let's just do work like this. Okay. So we're back to it's not working, but it's also not breaking. Let's see what's going on. Then we can put all the pieces together. Update city, user city. I'll just change this to like test and see if that works. So we'll just put in New York. Okay, so it's working before it's getting sent to 304 error after I click the button that triggers date city. I notice that the URL also has a this happens. Okay, so it's typically related to caching and the use of conditional requests. So we will dive into that in a second. I'm just going to see if we're able to fully update. Okay. I just want to see if this is getting what I think it's getting. Okay. So the console city name, okay, is empty. If I type in New York, let's see. Okay. I'm just going to run this locally. I think that'll probably be the easier solution right now. Okay, so I'm going to bring over this. And then also bring over this. And then we'll have java.js. And then this is going to be okay. Nope, that's not the right file. And then we need this. Okay. Now we will refresh the page. Okay. So this is just like a normal HTML file. And then I'm testing it locally. So we have New York. Okay, and it's changing to test before it's changing right back to Paris. And we're getting the internet disconnected error again, which I was running into when I was testing this initially. But at least we know that it's updating somewhat correctly. So I'm going to go and update it to be right here. I'm going to update this to be user city and see if we're getting that done correctly. And then I'll also update that locally. Okay, so we're getting Paris, France. I'm going to update it with New York. That's not working, but I am curious in the console. Okay, that's still empty. We do. Okay. Wonder what this error is coming from. So let's investigate it. I did a little bit of research when I was prepping for this, but was not able to find a solution. Okay, so I think the issue for the offline error was that the testing and then the developer tools was quite literally just set to offline. And before I thought it was something that had to do with Google. So yeah, no, we know. So next thing I'm going to do is we need to call update city, but we need to be putting in the user city, I think, as a part of the function and see if that helps us in this process. I think that might be the issue. I'm going to reject this for now because we already have the constant that's being created. We don't want the value. We want the, or maybe we do want the actually the value. Let's see what that looks like in DOM. Okay, so okay, it is value. That was my mistake. I wonder if that's all we actually needed. Okay. And then I'll update that locally. Okay. And then we'll run this again and see if that's the issue. Let's completely refreshing the page. But are we seeing New York before it does that? No. Maybe we'll try this with users city. Okay, and then we'll run this again. Curious why France is gone. I guess we'll see. Huh. That did not work. Let's see what's going on. Okay. What happened to the header? Oh, it's heading. That would make a difference. Okay, I'm curious why it's being set to empty before. Oh, I guess it was clicked as it was empty, but it should be resetting because it's hard coded to Paris in the HTML file. Let's see if this does anything. I'm adding in this. So if there's no user city in this button, then it's going to remain France, or at least it should according to this logic. Yes, okay. And then New York. Okay. Empty. New York. Okay. a string, so this should be working for changing the inner text. I'm not sure what's going on, so I'm going to ask Copilot, our debugger, so we can get this moving for y'all. Let's see. Any idea why this isn't updating the heading when I actually do have text in users, city, and submit? Oh. Okay. I thought I was calling it on click, but it was being called immediately on. Okay. I'll accept this. I don't think line 140 needs to be there though, so I'm going to get rid of that and see if that actually affects anything. Okay. Latin, New York, once more. Okay, it's not changing anything, so we'll try and see if that is what it needs. This is also still running locally, so none of that actually made a difference. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it's still commented out locally because we're still testing it locally. Okay. New York. Okay, so that line probably matters. Wonder why it needs to be in here itself. Here we have New York. Okay, so it's changing before it refreshes again. On the page. But that's at least a start. I'm going to go ahead and update the actual map via this logic, and then we'll go into actually integrating everything. So now we're going to go over here, and as you can see here, we have like the location is set equal to Paris, France. It's default. I think we want to set that equal to we want to set it equal to whatever location we're getting here. So I'm gonna pull up this. Okay, so get element by does this have an ID? I'm just gonna give it one. ID is equal to map frame. Oh. Is it null? Okay. So that's what we need to do. So basically what we're going to do to adjust the iframe on our document is that we're going to do like a similar like document update for our iframe. We're going to set that equal to be blank. So we'll do, I think we should probably get it. In the actual domain as well. Let's see. So we'll have const okay, and then we're gonna have that be the source, and then in here for no iframe, we will return okay. Otherwise, we're going to have this be that's not entirely what I want though. Because here we have this. Let's see where this is. Okay. Actually gonna be this. So that's actually pretty good. Okay, let's see what this does. And we of course need to bring this down to the local Okay, let's see how this is working. I have New York. Oh. Okay. We're going to set this equal to variable locally and see if it's able to update. And then we'll do I don't need to type all this out again. It's working. Okay. Cool. Sorry for the errors, but we'll slowly get there. Okay, so this is what we need, essentially. And then we'll, instead of putting Detroit, have it be our actual city. So and then instead of it being, we'll just have it be actually equal to user city. So this is what we just did. Yeah. And then, no. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then, yeah. Okay. This should be good. I'm not sure if this is going to work the way we're intending, but I'm going to put it in locally as well so we can test it out. Okay, let's do Detroit, Michigan. Okay. Let's see if it's just changing too quickly. Okay. I wonder if we did it like this, if it would make any difference if instead of hard coding it, we added in. Oh, we're getting closer time too. Okay. I know it's been mostly debugging this session, which I apologize for. But does anyone have any questions or sections they want to go over? So even though it's not functioning as of now, what essentially the pieces that we're working on debugging and putting together will do is that once we're pulling in that information from the form, like in this JavaScript function, we're going to be updating that embedded item, and we're also going to be updating that title as well. And then from that, we're going to be running our pictures display, which I showed you briefly with the Paris gallery. And then like from that, you're able to download different images that you're pulling with your city name. All right, any questions? If not, I'm going to try debugging for a little bit longer to see if we can get something that's a little bit closer to working. But once we get like at the, I think like 50-minute mark, I'm just going to go over the resources I have, so you're able to explore like the API articles on your own, as well as see all of the information towards the end. Okay. Curious to see how the loading actually will affect this and see if maybe that's the issue. Someone asked, will adding an expiry parameter like max age work in the header? That could possibly work. Let's see. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay. I added in max age. Into it locally. I'll put that up here so y'all are able to see it too. Maybe I'll make it like something like quite low, like 10, and see if that makes more of a difference. No. Oh. Wait, let me try something. Nope. So for context, what I did locally was I was commenting out if like there's no user city return, because I was thinking that maybe that was the issue, that like it wasn't recognizing that. Yeah. Okay. Since we have just a few minutes left, I'm going to move into the resources I had prepared, and so you're able to provide your registration for the session as well. I'm sorry I wasn't able to finish debugging this the time with y'all. I really wish that we were able to get to the finished product, but sometimes as part of Global Hack Week, I'm learning along with y'all, so it's not always going to be perfect. And I'm going to attempt to debug this on my own after the fact of Global Hacking Week, so that I can see like the finished product, because I'm actually quite interested in this project, and I actually want to be able to see it after the fact. But I'm going to move back to my slides. We have a question from someone who asked, once I debug and complete, can I push it to my Git so everyone on the stream can look at it as well? Yes, I will do that. I don't know when I'll be able to like finish the debugging so that like it's like actually working. I will like be taking a little break after the stream, of course, and then I don't know how much additional time it'll take to get it to a working product, but I will upload it to GitHub after the fact. So if you are curious to see the solution, then just like give it a star or a watch on GitHub. I don't know the exact verbiage. And then you should be notified on GitHub like when I push a new commit to it. So you're able to see the working solution. And also for like at the end, I'll be pushing like the code we did work on in part 2. So you're able to see what we had, and also like the code for the gallery that I showed you earlier. I'll push that as well. So you're able to see how that works as well, and kind of like the body of that, even if it's not fully functional. I want to make sure that you'll have the code if you want to tinker with it a little bit more after the fact. So as a recap, we went over APIs, and we went through setting up our website, did a lot of debugging, spent a decent amount of time in the DOM. If you want to check out the code after the fact, if you go to bit.ly/postcard repo, you'll be able to find all the code. I'll push part 2 after this session, and you'll be able to see everything. Also, there are some references for what I looked at when I was learning more about APIs and creating my slide deck. The first link on this page, bit.ly/postcard slides, is like where you'll find the slides I used for part 1 and part 2. They're basically the same slide. I just updated the link for where you register for the session. The two docs below that, or the 2 links below that, are what I think are like the most important documentation or articles to read in reference to what we talked about in these 2 sessions. So for the Places API docs, that's just like the Places Google Maps documentation. And the second link, Intro to APIs, is going to be an article just like giving like a rundown on the basics of APIs. If you're new to APIs, it's a good read, especially because they're so essential to engineering, software engineering. Yes. Okay. So any further questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now. If you haven't already, make sure you register your attendance for the session, so you get the hacker points for this Global Hack Week. I'll put that link up on the screen. And also, we're always looking to improve. So if you'd like, you can fill out our feedback form as well, which is linked on the screen. Yeah. I'll leave it open for another minute or 2 if you have any questions. Yeah. And thank you for joining me in this journey. Again, we'll see. We're able to get it working soon. Follow or star the project if you want to see the working solution later once I debug it a little bit more. But I hope you learned something today, following along with my debugging and all of the code we brought in. And also, while I'm waiting to see if anyone will drop any more questions in the chat, I want to give a quick shout out to the next Global Hack Week stream that'll be going on today. It's not until 8 p.m. Eastern, so you have about 3 hours until the next stream, but you have part 2 of Document and Deploy Your Own API. I believe that Kari's leading that one, so that will definitely be a cool stream to join as well. So if you have time and are interested, be sure to keep tuning in to Global Hack Week this week. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope to see you at future Global Hack Weeks, and have a good night. Bye.